back to familiar territory for once. Although the list of RE4 mysteries grew and grew until I ran out of ideas, I'm still playing through RE4 in my free time, attempting to find any strange oddities, out-of-bound discoveries or mysteries. Remember the Dirty Spinel secret treasure from Separate Ways? I'll quickly go through the story again for those who aren't aware. Basically, Leon can still obtain the treasures from inside the disgusting pool of stagnant water via the 2 wells around the village. A much less valuable but rare variation of the default treasure you get from shooting down the wooden beam and collecting them normally. Ada, however, is too disgusted by the wells throughout the village and refuses to get her hands dirty, and because the well with the spinel is only in Separate Ways, it means that the Dirty Spinel is impossible to collect, making it by far the rarest treasure in the entire series. Going underneath the map, you'll be surprised to hear that the game spawns in the Dirty Brass Pocket Watch from Leon's campaign instead. There was never an asset created for this mythical, mysterious treasure because we were never supposed to pick it up. Interesting. Anyway, let's get into the actual topic of this mystery, suggested by the community. We wake up in the village barracks at the beginning of 1-2 a little tied up, during a long conversation about our former careers as police officers, of which Luis may have been lying to conceal his involvement with Los Illuminados. A bloody, limping ganado starts to approach the cabin, wielding an axe not seen anywhere else in the village, dragging it slowly along the floor in an injured or exhausted state. He eventually catches us off guard, saying "I'm going to kill you" in Spanish, and the QTE ensues.
Te voy a matar.
Do something, cop! After you.
Leon breaks his neck, Luis frantically escapes, and we're free to question what on earth just happened. What's immediately obvious is that by reading the Chief's Note document found in Mendez's bedroom at the end of 1-2, it's established that Sadler wanted Leon alive, choosing to inject him with Las Plagas for the purpose of making him a powerful subordinate of his, rather than killing him when he had the chance. So why did someone else try and kill him when the intention was to always keep Leon tied up until he succumbed to the parasite? Chief Mendez disagrees with Sadler's intuition in this letter. Why keep him alive? I do not fully understand what the Lord's intentions are, but ultimately trusts his judgment in the final sentence. One theory suggests that Mendez gave the call behind Sadler's back, allowing one of his friends to carry out their execution for a single use of his urinal or an invitation to dinner. I've said this before, but unlike Sadler or Salazar, who saw the Ganados as second-class citizens, Chief Mendez always looked out for his own kind. He saw them as equals, calling them his fellow men in the alert order document addressed to the village's inhabitants. He even let them inside his house and use his utilities. He was close with the villagers, and they looked up to him as their real leader, not Sadler.
Hay un rumor que hay un extranjero entre nosotros.
Nuestro jefe se curará de la rata. Y si la plaga es mucho mejor que la nuestra.
Tienes razón, es un hombre.
It's very likely that this was a rogue execution attempt, orchestrated in secret, one that could have gotten Mendez in serious trouble had Sadler figured it out. It also explains how this guy knew exactly where Leon and Luis were held. This information was only known by 5 people: the 2 villagers who transported them to the cabin, Sadler, Mendez, and the Zealot that injected them. In Separate Ways, we can spy out of this window as Ada and see these 2 ganados carrying them. The character assets are of Don Diego and Don Jose, the latter matching the executioner. Safe to say we now know the culprit, it was most likely this Don Jose, but there's still many more unanswered questions. For instance, why is he injured? What's with the axe? This rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than I initially thought. Many of RE4's worst atrocities were carried out in the village, from the torture cabin secluded at the bottom of a cliff face, to the numerous bodies and skulls of outsiders and defectors. Let's investigate more of these locations to find out how this particular executioner appears to be injured, and any other parallels linking him to other cases. The 1-2 cabin's interior is creepy enough. There's meat hooks all over the place. Livestock cannot traverse this location because of the rickety bridges, narrow pathways, and doors. Not to mention the only way to access it is through a secret bunker in Mendez's backyard. Can cows climb ladders? So what were they using these for then? The outside is even worse. Barbed wire along the concrete wall, further substantiating the torture theory. I'll talk more about the other cabin in a minute, but again there's more barbed wire, likely to prevent prisoners from escaping captivity. The worst detail of all are the nooses, seen hanging outside from a makeshift gallows next to an Illuminados flag. Historically used in execution methods, knowing what we already know about executions in this area and Mendez's secret hideout being the only possible way to access it, its purpose is obvious, and no one was ever supposed to know about it. The nooses could have also been used to catch the fish that populate the sewer system beneath Mendez's house, of course. Beheading is one of the preferred killing methods in the village. We see this with the skulls in the fireplace at the beginning of the game, the bloody signposts scattered everywhere, and the most interesting of all, the wheelbarrow. By looking around normally, we can't examine the bodies in detail. Only by manipulating the camera, we find that many of these defectors are actually headless. Don Jose may be behind these murders, acting as a villager's executioner under Mendez. The regularity and number of these killings could also justify the blood on him and his exhaustion. This was after a long day of work. However, Dr. Salvador or the Bella sisters could have also been involved. The closest correlation we have is the ritual site near the Enlightenment cabin. The lift area of the village contains 2 gondola posts separated by a deep valley side, with cliffs to the west having been dug out by the locals. The descent into the valley is one of my favourite experiences in the game, and we make our first stop inside the cave where Ada was almost beheaded herself by another Don Jose. This can't be the same person. He died earlier chronologically when Leon slammed his head against a wall. Judging by the blood and the flag linking it to the first cabin, this is another ritual/execution site frequently used to dispose of outsiders and those who oppose the cult. A common theme with these 2 locations is that they're positioned next to sheer drops into the valley. If Mendez is unsuccessful with enlightening betrayers, he throws them into the valley just like he did with the bodies inside the wheelbarrow. When we come back to the farm after killing Delago, you'll notice that all of the evidence has disappeared. Looks like Salazar isn't the only person who does this. Here's another mystery for you. There's some sort of factory building on top of the valley. There's lighting inside, meaning it isn't abandoned. The lift activation room is at the bottom of the cliff, so it bears no correlation. What are they doing in here? Tell me what you think in the comments, and if I should make a video exploring more of these out of bounds or hidden locations in the game. Village's last defense. I clearly underestimated the American agent's abilities. He's still alive. There is a building used to enlighten betrayers just beyond the point where you get off the lift. Lastly, we have the torture cabin, mentioned by Vittoris Mendez himself, a place hinted at in numerous documents as an eventual consequence for interfering with his plans.
If you become unpleasant to our eyes, you'll face severe consequences.
Separated from the village in its entirety, when we walk all the way down here, we're much closer to the castle in fact. I love the atmosphere here, even if it is the most unsettling of all locations mentioned in the video. Just like before, the evidence of their crimes have since been destroyed. Minimal blood, no bodies or objects suggesting this is anything besides an abandoned storage shack tucked away in the middle of nowhere. Just more meat hooks and boxes full of inanimate objects, some with weird writing on them. This photograph alone painting a perfect picture of what we've come to expect and have already discovered. In separate ways, a lone Bella sister occupies the cabin along with a few villagers. Mendez entrusted her with the lift activation key to ensure no one traversed the valley unless it was for ritualistic purposes. So now we understand who this person is, his connection to many of the disappearances and murders witnessed at the farm, and we know where the blood came from assuming he wasn't hurt. But I'm not entirely convinced by these conclusions. Why would Mendez send a limping, injured... I mean, look at him, I've said this up until now that he could have been exhausted and the blood wasn't actually his. But the more I watch this scene back, the more I realise someone kicked his ass or something. I mean, we just saw this guy an hour before his botched murder attempt and he was fine carrying Louise on his shoulders, so the whole long day at work theory doesn't make any sense. Well, fortunately, I found the answers. I know who did it. There had to be one of only 2 outcomes. Think about it, we know that the dog was Leon's guardian angel, discovered in that dedicated dog video a while back. He jumped in front of an El Gigante to save Leon. He was fearless and intelligent enough to know that Leon was in danger. So the dog could have also known that someone put a hit out for him and jumped Don Jose on the way to the cabin, injuring him enough to give Leon an easy assist kill. It looks like the injury starts from his head. It also doesn't look like a dog bite either, but bear with me here. There's a lot of blood on his left arm from a separate injury. I know this because his right arm doesn't have any blood on it at all, seen in this shot here. So this is what I think happened. The dog took a munch out of his left arm, one of the most typical places for a dog to bite someone, especially considering Don Jose was left-handed and actively carrying a bladed weapon. Don Jose then gets angry, swings the axe, misses the dog because his speed is next level, and cuts himself in the head with his own axe. The dog then gets scared and runs away. Don Jose limps over to the cabin, now half conscious as seen in game. I think that theory is solid and would explain everything so far. I'll rate this an 8 out of 10. Of course, Sadler wanted his fantasy of a Hollywood American hero saving the world fulfilled, so he needed to step in here to secure Leon's survival in this otherwise dangerous situation. I've always wondered how the merchant knew exactly where Leon was at all times, unless he was secretly Sadler using his staff as a location device to peer through walls. Sadler was also inside the cabin when he injected Leon. Again, one of only 5 people to know about this. If the merchant was a separate person, not only would he not know about Leon's location, but why on earth would a businessman come all the way out here in hopes of coming across customers? He adamantly told Mendez not to kill him, and was watching the entire thing unfold with his merchant camouflage through the window in case things didn't go as planned. He beat up Don Jose outside the cabin before controlling his Las Plagas, manipulating him into a delirious state, walking into the cabin despite tripping over himself, because any rational villager would have just given the axe to someone else if they were too disorientated to carry out an execution. While this was all happening, Sadler tiptoed around the cabin, enjoying the view from one of the windows, knowing that Don Jose would miss of course, greeting Leon a few seconds later. This was his way of congratulating himself and keeping his fantasy alive. I'll also give this one an 8 out of 10, on par with the dog theory because I love both of them. Thank you for watching. I love talking about these ultra obscure mysteries, have fun with them, and remain partially serious to an extent. I could potentially move on to more character or enemy lore stuff. A few people have suggested that and I think it would be great. Any ideas for future videos, please send them my way via Discord or email as always.